All right, so we are live on YouTube. You're good to start.
Okay, so call to order this meeting of the Montague Police Services Board. This March 3rd, 2022. And first order of business is reviewing and approving the previous minutes. I've looked at them and they seem good to me.
The agenda first.
Oh, the agenda first.
Approve the agenda for dated March 3rd.
Okay. Okay, I must printed off the wrong agenda then.
Was it the first resolution?
I just don't have that bit about approving the agenda.
Should have been the first one that said that the Montague Police Services Board agenda dated March 3rd, 2022 be approved.
Oh, hang on a second.
Sorry, folks. I can't hear anything, so I'm going to go back off the meeting, try and set my audio and come back on.
Okay,
Okay,
good job. Let's just give them a minute to come back.
Yeah.
I'll send them to you. I'll just send you that wording, Ross.
okay.
Those two don't vote tomorrow, they'll vote on Monday because I don't want to overwhelm people. Right, okay, yeah.
Can you hear us now, Bill?
I can barely hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you clearly, Bill.
Does anybody know more about Zoom than I do? I have no idea why this is happening. I'm on
What
my
are you
laptop.
using? You're using a laptop?
Yeah, I'm actually at my place in Mont Tremblant, so I'm on a laptop, and I'm using the speakers and microphone of my laptop. This has happened before, and there's usually been a place I can go to adjust it.
Right, like right on the keyboard, you would look for like the little speaker button with like the little sound waves coming out of it. It usually is above, like it's in, like mine is, F3. That would be if I would push the little shift button and hit the button to turn the volume up that way.
Let me just see. Oh, hang on. Give me a sound check.
I can hear you.
No, I'm thinking about you. Hang on.
Oh, can you hear us now?
Not much more. I'll just try and listen as best I can.
Okay.
If I may go, if you look on excuse me, on Zoom, on the page itself, where your mute button is on Zoom.
Say again.
Where your mute button is.
Yep.
Okay, there's an up arrow. Just click on that up arrow.
Got it?
Okay, you'll see audio settings.
Yes, okay.
Click on that.
Got it, okay.
And you'll see speaker, and I don't know if your speaker is the output volume, you may want to increase that.
You just earned yourself a great deal of points on your annual appraisal.
I didn't know that either. Good job.
All right, well, we started off with a bit of education. That's great. Oh, hi, Andrew. Glad you could join us. Okay, the agenda. Is everyone fine with the agenda?
I move approval.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much.
We just have to say all in favor or vote on it to make it
Okay.
official.
All
All
in
in-
favor? Raise your hand.
Yep.
Any against? Passed. Business arriving from previous minutes. I didn't see any business. So I think we can just carry on. Are we okay with that?
Well, I think we have to move approval. of
You
the
have
minutes.
the minutes of the Montague Service Board meeting held on December 9th be approved as circulated.
Okay. Can we have an approval of the
I so
minutes.
move.
Yep, seconded.
in favor
Aye.
and opposed? Passed. Thank you for keeping me in line, Christy. So presentations. The first one I had was the speeding monitor solutions, which came out of our last meeting and out of the last Lanark County meeting. And I think everyone was there except you, Inspector, where myself and Lanark Highlands presented the needs for further tools to help the OPP in more effective, especially speeding issues. And we looked at the Black Hat, and a couple of people have used them and they had good things to say about it. There was a presentation by the Black Hat representative, and at the end of it, there were prices and a mention that there could be a discount if 6 units were bought. Stacy has been doing a survey on that, and we are up to 4 or 5. Now, I said Montague would purchase one if council approved. Would one be satisfactory? Because right now we don't have any of the Black Cats. We have one sign that says that posts the speed as you drive by it. And just to refresh your memory, the Black Cat has monitoring storage so that you can get results from a position of number of vehicles, speeds. You can set that over or under, and a lot of good information. And I don't remember the exact price, but it was between 4,000 and 5,000, I believe. So is there any discussion on if you think we should suggest 1 or 2 of these? Bill? Dodd?
Yeah, thank you. I just, first of all, wouldn't mind maybe asking through you, Mr. Chair, to Corona, what his impression is of this tool, of this device overall, for its effectiveness. And also, then I guess we'd obviously have to be having a little chat with with Andrew to find out, because Andrew, like this, if we were to buy this, it's not on the it's not in the budget yet, right? Or is it? I know you probably have, maybe you've got wind that we're looking at the possibility of buying it, but it hasn't gone to council yet, I don't believe. So guess those one question to Corona and one to Andrew.
Okay, so we'll be having a budget meeting of council on March 8th. So we could add it to that for council to discuss. And then see if council gives direction to have that in our budget. Or then go from there.
So is there a deadline? Do you know, Ross, if there's a deadline for us to order these? Because you're right. I thought I saw the email today there yesterday that there were, I think, 4 sold and they need 6 to get a discount. But is there a deadline?
Well, the deadline really is the next Lanark Police Services Board meeting, simply because we have to keep things on track. And the numbers need to be put in by then. So I'd like to suggest we put in for 2, but do we need to? And I guess that brings me, hang on a second, Andrew, brings me back to the inspector and what your thoughts on the effectiveness of this tool are.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Black Cat device has been used by a few municipalities within the area, within the county, for close to 2 years now. It's a fairly effective device. We had an older version of the speed measuring equipment, and that unfortunately we had to retire due to age. The new device, which we were able to get on loan from the company as a trial, we deployed it a couple of times around the county. It's fairly effective. It allows us to monitor speeds, record speeds of vehicles going in both directions. It also has a program, software program that allows it to analyze the data, so we can ascertain peak periods when speeding may be an issue. That is really effective for us when it comes to providing policing services. So as opposed to a speeding complaint, we would normally get a speeding complaint. There's a vehicle on Roger Stevens Road, or vehicles are speeding on Roger Stevens Road, and there's no real time, and we really can't deploy a cruiser there for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's just not realistic. What this device allows us to do is monitor the vehicle traffic, the speeds, ascertain a period of time where volume is heavy or speeds are the greatest, and then we can deploy our resources accordingly. So we've worked with a couple of the local municipalities who already have it in their possession, and use their machine to get some data, and it's been really effective. What I can also tell you is it not only goes towards policing and speed enforcement, but also some of the municipalities provide it to their roads people, so they can do traffic studies and so forth. So I personally would advocate for it.
Okay, thank you very much, Inspector. And just to make sure we're talking about the right roads, within Montague, that includes county roads, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, they're just not provincial roads like 15. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Lai.
Thanks, Ross. Just a couple of questions, again, possibly to the inspector. On the county basis, assuming we're going to have one PSB at some point in the future, if you were to pool these, how many would you believe to be needed to do a good coverage for the community as a whole, Karuna? Is it somewhere in the 6 to 8 range for the county as a whole, your detachment?
Well, thank you for the question, but also right now, I mean, we police, there's 8 municipalities within Lanark County. our speeding complaints tend to increase during the summer months. As I stated before, every municipality or some municipalities have their own dedicated unit. And I know we spoke about the speeding complaint policy at the last Lanark County PSB. I think that's being revisited again next week, maybe. And that goes hand in hand with the speed measuring device. So when a complaint comes in, instead of the municipality calling police, and just saying, well, there's a speeding problem, they would use the speed measuring device to deploy it on the road in question or roads, which in their respective municipalities. So, like I said, to me, it would make sense if each municipality either purchased one or shared the 6 between the 8 municipalities. But that's strictly up to the municipalities. That's how they proceed.
And as a follow-up, my comment is, from the municipality's point of view, even when we have the amalgamated PSB, I think from the council's point of view, and forgive me for advising elected members, but it might be a whole lot easier for you to diffuse unneeded complaints, or at least exaggerated complaints, if you had a fairly low-cost, dependable method by which you can diffuse hysteria based upon 1 or 2 observations. And it would then be a really good device for you to have a speed reporting policy or a speed problem policy, such as Lanark Highlands. Without the effective measuring devices, I don't think you could enforce that policy easily. And again, that's my advice to council from our perspective. I think, Bill, it would ease your burden in having repeat people coming in and complaining about small things being big things.
Christy?
So there is a speed complaint policy bylaw for Montague that was just passed.
Mhm.
Oh, good. Oh, is that
And-
similar to the one in Lanark Highlands?
Yes.
Steve, it went to council and was passed by the public works manager.
Oh, super. Well, then I think he's going to need a tool to measure the effectiveness of that policy and then properly advise the operations end, who are the police.
Yeah, it is based on us having a tool, but Karuna, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was sorry, I wasn't aware of the policy in Montague, but perhaps you could send that to me following the meeting, Christy. And you're correct, Bill, with respect to the policy is great, but if we don't have the tools, it would be like chasing a needle in a haystack. So this allows us to pinpoint and properly deploy our resources.
Bill Dobson?
So thanks, Ross. This question is for Christy. Do you think Christy would be, or no, sorry, I guess Andrew, when you're presenting the budget meeting next week, do you think it would be a good thing maybe for us to have Ross come on for 5 minutes and present this to us? Because, it's a considerable extra expense that we're putting on at the last, at the end, in the budget. But I certainly 100% agree with it. But, it would be probably pretty efficient if we had, or maybe effective if we had the chair of our police services board present this. Do you think that would be okay, Andrew, or do we have the time there for that in the next meeting, or what? Our next meeting is Zoom, right?
Yes, it is a Zoom meeting. If Ross was interested, we could we do like it as a delegation type thing where we have a bit of time for that. Well,
I know that it's, there's an awful lot to cover in this meeting. We're talking a full budget, but certainly this is an important part of it. And I don't think we need a long time. I mean, Ross, you've described it to us before pretty nicely within 5 minutes. So
Yeah, I already have presentations that I can certainly, abbreviate, and I'm sure I can cover the whole thing inside of 5 minutes.
I think.
Well, I'm only making suggestion to you there, Andrew and Christie, if you can work that out. I think it would be good.
If I may, supporting that, Ross, I think the key point is here, the township has now got a policy in place that without this tool is an empty policy.
Right. But I think we do need to at least let council know a few details about this mechanism.
Yeah, no,
So-
absolutely. That's the how to, but the whole point is if you want to enforce accountability for a bylaw, you do need the tools. You need either people out there measuring with cameras, or you need an automated measuring system to give you the evidence you need to back up your policy. So this is
Right, and from what I hear from the inspector, it sounds like one unit for Montague would fulfill what we've committed to.
Yeah.
Okay, so Andrew, can you find me a little time in the schedule?
Yeah, that should be no problem.
May I suggest, Mr. Chair, that we actually move a resolution from the Police Services Board to the council that the purchase be made of one black cat measurement device to enforce the new speed keeping bylaw. Make it a formal resolution from a Police Services Board. That's part of our job.
Okay, Andrew, you want to comment?
Yeah, and can you include the pricing with that as well?
Yeah.
I believe I can. Let me look into that and I'll confirm that, but I believe the presentation had pricing.
Okay, thank you.
Christie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so I just was going to say, it sounds like Mr. Y is moving a motion forward. So I'm just going to confirm his motion, and then he needs a seconder for it.
I'll second that.
Okay, so your motion, Bill, again, could you just say it a little slowly
The
for
Police
me?
Services Board recommends the purchase of the name of the machine as part of the speed control policy of Montague Township at an estimated cost of thus and an estimated operating cost of Y on an annual basis. And those numbers hopefully would be there.
Perfect, we can do that, and then I just need you to vote on it.
Who's in favor of this motion?
Perfect.
Anyone against?
There's only three of us.
Passes. Yep.
Mhm. Perfect.
Okay, I think that takes that up. I've got an action item to get back to you, Andrew, and I'll do that. There's going to be a little more discussion on that later, but right now, Karuna, do you have any of the latest details concerning policing in this township?
Did we not provide an updated Q1 report? Or sorry, fourth quarter report?
The last report we saw, Inspector, I think was the third quarter of last year. And one of the reasons for this meeting was to see if the annual report was yet available and or any first quarter report for this year.
We wouldn't have the first quarter report. That would only be available in April.
Okay.
But I apologize. I don't believe I may have sent the last quarter report from 2021. If you bear with me for a second.
Okay.
I can allow you to share your screen if you want to share it with us now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so you can share your screen when you're ready.
If you have something, we can. Were you going to present something at the Lanark Police Service Boards?
Not to the county as a whole, but I can. Just give me a second.
Well, Karuna is looking that up. Oh, there we go.
Here.
Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be, and I'll email this to you, Chrissy, after the meeting.
Perfect.
My apologies, it wasn't sent. So this would be the fourth quarter for 2021. And apologies, because I'm just looking at it now as well, so I'll go through it as we go through it together. Basically, Lanark County is on the top, and we'll go down to Montague, and these are the selected incidents. You'll notice our ride has increased somewhat by 2 for 2021. Everything else seems to have come down except for motor vehicle collisions, and that would be attributable to more people being out and driving along on the roadways. I'll skip over the uncoded. Sorry, and I know I'm going through this fairly quickly. For violent crime, we seem to have an increase in criminal harassment. Having said that, in 2020 Q4 we had 1, 2021 we had 2. So that's why that stands out. Property crime, we're actually doing not too bad. A bit of a decrease, again, not a great decrease, but a decrease nonetheless in thefts and frauds and mischiefs. Actually was a substantial decrease in mischiefs from 10 the previous quarter to 1 this past one. Domestic disputes and mental health calls. We have noticed, I won't say a decrease in domestic disturbances. 2020 was a bit of an anomaly because of COVID and people with the lockdown. Our calls for domestics did go up just as mostly the partners were in their homes together. So we saw a bit of an increase. It's come down from 2020, but overall, when we look at the trend over the past few years, 5 years, domestic disturbances have been increasing. The same goes with the mental health incidents. We are seeing a steady increase year over year. COVID, it actually did go down for a couple of months in 2020 during the lockdown, and I have no explanation as to the reason why. But overall, we've seen the constant increase in mental health calls. Not much of drug activity. Accidents attributable mainly to wild or domestic. So again, deer accidents were an increase, and that's pretty common across the county. We've seen quite an increase in accidents. We tend to see an increase in Q4 during hunting season, or roundabouts there as well. And just to go over, nothing really stands out. And we're fairly consistent with our patrols in the area. So that's just a quick overview, and I apologize I didn't send it to you prior to this meeting. Any questions?
Go
Just
ahead,
one
Mr. Lyle.
observation. I'm assuming that the population of Lanark County and Montague County has risen over the last 8 years, not precipitously, but some. And if we were to adjust these on a per capita basis, it looks like the trend is either constant or slightly reduction on a per capita basis with the increased population. I mean, this is right off the top of my head, statistics here, because I don't know what our growth in population has been.
So, yeah, I can answer that question there, Bill. For the first time in the past, well, just very, very recently, for the first time, we surpassed in Montague a population of 4,000 people. So about 10 years ago, it was 3,400 or so. And now it's just over 4,000, I believe, maybe 4,035. Maybe Andrew can help us there. But to give you an idea, as far as the population growth is concerned about Montague, I believe for the last, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years, Montague was the second highest per capita growth rate in Lanark County. We were just slightly behind Beckwith per capita.
Mhm.
So we're growing. We're certainly growing. My belief is that we're going to grow quite a bit faster. Although it's not necessarily the predictions that we're getting when we've done studies, but I still do think that Montague is going to grow considerably in the next 10, 15, 20 years. That being because Kempful and Beckwith Carlton Place area is exploding, we know. Eventually they're going to be filled up. We're in between the two. We're on the right side of Smith Falls for Ottawa, for people that want to either work or play in Ottawa. And so we're in that triangle there. So I think we're going to grow considerably, but certainly that's where it's at with Montague compared to Lanark.
Okay, then the conclusion I would draw then is, given the criminal statistics or the accident statistics, the police activity, it appears that it's relatively constant in spite of population growth, which is a good thing.
Mhm.
We're becoming a peaceable kingdom. And the people moving in are not bringing in all sorts of added work for the police. I think this is more important for resourcing of crew and his people. At least he's not seeing a spike in activity, which would cause him resourcing difficulties. And I take that as a positive thing.
Yeah, I take that as a positive thing too. And, but it does mean that as a police services board, we need to think ahead and put the tools in place that the OPP will need. And that's what we're doing here with the speed monitoring. So,
well, given the added numbers of people speeding into Ottawa on Roger Stevens Drive, when I'm going in at about 87 kilometers an hour, I think given the increased number of folks who are now doing that, we've made a good recommendation today.
yeah, I actually got a speeding complaint yesterday. So, but it was on a provincial road, so I got off. Where does that leave us? I guess that leaves us, Andrew. Oh, sorry, Christy.
I was just gonna say, before you move on to the next item, you'll just have to move and second that you received this presentation for information.
I
I would like to, okay, thank you, Bill. And the other Bill will second. All right, favor, we're in. Okay. We have review of the detachment commander with absolutely nothing underneath it. So I'd like to say that we move that to our year end police service board meeting. That makes sense.
Is this not that meeting?
Well, I meant by calendar, in other words, December.
Well, no, but I think we owe a review of the detachment commander for 2021. We have to do one for the year past, ending in December 31st, 2021. So
Okay.
perhaps we should move this to an in-camera session of the PSB. After adjournment of this particular meeting, we go in camera and deal with that issue. May I make that suggestion?
We don't necessarily post. We just go out. We go into camera and then come back out. We then come back out to the public meeting. But Christy can explain how it's done there.
Oh, okay.
We haven't given proper notification procedurally to have a in-camera portion of this meeting.
Ah,
You need 48 hours notice to have to put another part, like to make this have an in-camera portion. Sorry, I'm learning the Police Services Board at the same time. So I did not know that there needed to be an in-camera portion of this meeting. So we'll all work together and hopefully we can do it on the next one.
yeah, well,
Okay.
then let's move that discussion until the quarterly meeting of, let's say, June.
Yeah, like
that
we could
comes
just
up.
move it to the next one and make sure we have the in-camera
Okay.
ready at that point.
Okay, timing of meetings is later in the agenda. So
Yeah, we can. So we'll just put no review, like none under here, and just move on to the next one.
all right, and just make a note that we're going to do that in June. Okay, concerns of the public. I haven't heard anything other than someone complaining about speeding on Highway 15. Does anyone have any input on outstanding concerns? It's such a peaceable lot.
I
Okay,
haven't had one call.
well, there's something to be said for COVID isolation then. Is there anything new that Inspector you'd like to bring us up to speed on your detachment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe since we last met, we did have the Staff Sergeant competition for the vacancy. The successful candidate was Staff Sergeant Curtis Todros. He was supposed to be in this meeting today. Unfortunately, he got called away in the last minute on some other business. I don't believe I've introduced you to the other Staff Sergeant who started with us in July of last year, Staff Sergeant Jacqueline Entwistle. So we have two new Staff Sergeants. For those of you that know Staff Sergeant Marty McConnell, he transferred. He was promoted to Detachment Commander in Frontenac. So that created the vacancy for Staff Sergeant Curtis Todros. And so Curtis is joining us, and yeah, we're glad to have him on board. As far as staffing wise, we are doing pretty good in Lanark Detachment. We were actually, I believe, we just had 3 recruits join us from the academy on the 5th of February. So that's a welcome addition. We're also going to we're expecting another lateral transfer at the end of this month, and a experienced police officer will be joining us as well. So staffing wise, we're doing pretty good. We're able to staff adequately. Yep, no issues. Our MSA team is all strong, going strong. Our community street crime unit is also, we just increased from 2 to 3. So now we have 3 full bodies in community street crime. And they are focused on any break and enters, property crimes, and drug offenses. So that's just a quick overview of where we are at Lanark.
That sounds great. Thank you, Inspector. Mr. Dobbs.
Yes, thanks. This is, hopefully I'm allowed to ask this question to Corona, but I guess it's just a general question. That is that, how did your detachment fare out with the larger convoy going into Ottawa, but not just that one, any of the mini ones that may have been happening through Lanark County? I just wondered if your detachment had any issues there.
We actually have that point coming up later in the agenda.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Any other comments for the inspector? Mr. Lai?
Just one question, Karuna. Have you heard anything through your network about the amalgamation of the PSBs?
No, we haven't. pretty much same as you, Bill, I would imagine.
Well, I don't think we're gonna hear much more for a couple of years because of the election and everything. Where are we here? Okay, Inspector, you forwarded something about MAD signs.
Oh, sorry, before
Sorry.
we go ahead.
Yeah,
Can we just get that the Montague Police Services Board receive a verbal update from Corona about updates from the Lanark County OPP detachment?
I so move.
seconder,
Yep.
all in favor? Okay,
Okay.
yes, MAD signage. Karina, you forwarded some information about the organization MADD offering signs for our roads.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I was approached by one of my sergeants here who was liaising with with an OPP auxiliary officer, and I think the letter's on the in the agenda by the auxiliary officer's name's Emma Leclerc, and basically the Ottawa chapter of MAD Canada is looking to obviously promote anti-drunk driving. Impaired driving and deploy some countermeasures, i.e. road signs and so forth. I brought this up at the Latter County Joint Services Board when we held it in January, and we just needed a bit more information at that time as to what the request from MAD Canada was. I made a request and they forwarded me a letter indicating what they would do and what they would pay for and what support they would need from the local municipalities and the PSBs. So as you can see from the letter they sent, they will pay for the signs, and they wanted between the OPP detachment, Lanark County, and the various PSBs selecting a design, deciding on the locations, and also liaising with MTO if it's for any provincial roads and so forth. So I guess they're just looking for a rubber stamp from the PSBs. Is it supported? And if so, then they would obviously will go to the next step.
Okay, it's a revenue neutral proposition, and what about sending that message through me to the next Lanark meeting that we are in favor of the MAD signs?
May I suggest a motion to that effect?
Okay,
That the Montague Township Police Services Board support in principle the MAD proposal, subject to council approval through, and Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, through its appropriate offices such as Public Works.
seconded. Mr. Dodson, all in favor? Thank you very much. Okay. I put in the Montague speed review note based on earlier comments concerning trying to make our speed zones more sensible. In other words, there's a lot 40, 60, 80, 50, 60. Do we want to steady that for recommendations, or do we not? What do you guys think? Bill?
Well, I do know that our public works people study that very, very, very closely. And there's been quite a few discussions already at the municipal level. And like, I agree that I personally would rather see a more consistent speed limits. But at the same time, when you talk to Public Works, they will point out the reasons why certain areas might be only 40, but others could be 70. So, I mean, I'm just, all I want to say is that Steve, our public works manager, does, I think, a really good job of trying to monitor that. But there could be a possibility of us making it a little more consistent. I don't know. That would obviously have to get to council eventually and decided, but it is something that we should talk about, I think.
William?
Well, I've always been in favor of designing a solution with a clear description of a problem. And other than the consistency here, I'm not aware of what the problem is we're trying to solve with a study.
I believe the problem is rather than having a hodgepodge of different speed zones that may not be necessary or make sense, could we relook what we currently have to implement something more homogeneous? Mr. Dobson.
So usually when these speed limits have been created, and most of them have been probably created in the last, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years. It happens because there's a petition brought forward by the people on the road. And my experience has been that when the people come and they say to council, they want the road to be 70 instead of 80 or 60 or 50. Usually they get consensus, but that's how it happens. So it has always happened because of the people on that particular road. So not necessarily how council feels or how police services board feel or even how the police feel. It's how the people feel on a certain road. That's how it's happened.
Well, then in that case, what good is a study going to do? If this is an ad hoc knee-jerk reaction by council to an ad hoc complaint of a few citizens on a length of road in the middle of another road, I mean, you can have zones coming up because of ad hoc petitions from a small number of people. The fact that we do a study is not going to change that particular reaction that the council gives to those people with loud voices.
And I rarely hear much problem about that. But when you do, it might be, well, the people say on a certain road whose limit is maybe is 80, and then they ask to go to 50, but it ends up just going to 70, and then they're saying, okay, how come the next road is 60, or how come our road can't be 60, whatever.
This sounds like a political problem, not something for the police services board. I hate to tell you, Bill, this is about road capacity, road geometry, Ministry of Transport designated standards on all sorts of things. And it looks like all those written natural engineering standards, policy standards, provincial law, highway traffic standards are being ignored whenever there's an ad hoc complaint. That is not a matter for the PSB or the police. That's, I'm afraid, right in the hands of the politicians.
Therefore, I take it we as a police services board, we have no motion on that and it is dropped.
Well, obviously, again, if there is a real problem, which is universal across the entire township that isn't replicated elsewhere in the county, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I know that traffic engineers do things like warrants, and they use warrants to justify both speeds and other traffic control measures based upon traffic, technical traffic standards developed by engineers and by provincial governments and on various roads. It looks like council is totally ignoring that process.
Could
I
I,
don't, I mean, I know that I've heard our public works people talk about what you're mentioning, Bill. So, you know, we also have listened to the public works people and not gone along with the people who may want it lowered.
Actually, I would be happy to endorse that because the public works people are basing it on various published standards that are accepted fairly universally across the province. And, you know, I recognize once I made a lot of noise about some stop signs on a particularly big street in Ottawa. They came out and did a traffic study, applied a whole bunch of warrants and found out I was right. And that went to council, not my complaint, but the fact that the warrant showed that the complaint was justified and that the measure was justified under all relevant standards. And it happened. And so your public works department seems to be doing that.
perhaps we can just advise Public Works of our ongoing black cat efforts
Yeah.
and letting them know that the information would be available to them.
Yeah.
And leave
And
it at
by the
that.
way, I think that the purchase of black cats will be helping the public works folks do the analysis of this very problem in a better way. So it's not just a PSB thing, not just a police speeding
Mhm.
thing, but it's an objective way for council to put evidence on the table so that when a very loud minority come in, they can be so, well, this just doesn't fit that particular criteria.
Okay.
So good on you, Public Works.
I can talk to Steve and just advise him, or do we want to do some sort of official note? Christie?
Just say for this item that you can just say that you guys, received this item for information and then make another motion based on if you want to do anything further, but you could just speak to Steve as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
You could have a motion saying the PSB supports the Public Works efforts to enforce or to develop and enforce a framework to judge these issues.
So I guess the first part is that the item that's on the table is the discussion first, so we would need to carry that you received it for information.
Yep, okay,
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
I support.
And then we could agree that there's no motion required.
Yeah, and then if you don't want to do another, you can do another motion, or you can just move on to the next item.
Let's just move on. You good with that?
Yep.
All right. Next is next week on the 10th, Montague has said that we will hold the Lanark County Police Service Board's meeting at Rosedale Hall. So we're finally having one in person. And Bill and I have already talked about it, just mechanics of what needs to be done. So this is more of an information point. Do we have any further comments on that, and who will be able to attend?
I'm driving down for that meeting.
Okay, and I know you'll be there, Bill, and I'll be there. Inspector?
Yes, is it, yeah, I'll be there. That's next Thursday, is it correct?
Right, the 10th.
Yep, I will be there.
And you're the
Okay.
chair, aren't you, Ross?
Yeah, I am, so I'll be there.
So this is a really good a day for you and Christy and I guess Stacy and for a good handover. Well, good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
And if you need somebody to sort of spot a motion or, stand up and ask the right question, call on us anytime.
Okay, all right. I think with you guys, I don't have to ask. You're gonna ask anyway, so. All right.
So we'll just receive that you're receiving this for information.
Yep.
Yes,
I need a mover and a seconder. Bill,
Bill and Bill,
Bill
The
and
double
Bill.
bill, the double bill.
B&B.
Perfect.
And
Thank
then
you.
I wanted to mention that we have a Zone 2 meeting in Napanee in June on 17th. And at that meeting, myself and, is it Jim Hunter? No, not Jim Hunter. The Lanark Highlands gentleman, Jim Hunt. And we are going to be doing a presentation there on our speed monitoring needs and decisions, and Black Cat will also be there. So again, I am just advising you and saying I'll be driving down for the day. And does anyone else plan on going to that meeting? Mr. Line?
I think I'll be going also, but I'll have to go separate. I have another job to do there, so.
Okay. And Karuna, do you go to the Zone 2 meetings?
No, I generally don't.
Okay.
Don't attend.
No, that's fine. Okay, so all three of us are going to be there. And what do I need to do on that, Kristen?
Move in second, just receive for information.
Just receive, move, second, all in favor.
I just have to put last names in. Figure out who's first and who's second.
Oh, just vary them. Just say Bill and Bill. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
That's
Bill and Bill and
As
Ross
for
agrees.
all our meetings now, they're all prearranged. It's just there. And if you oppose it, you have to just say so.
Perfect.
That brings us to just setting a future schedule for our police service boards. And I was going to suggest the next one is June 17th, or no, not June 17th, June 24th, a week after the Zone 2 meeting. And if there's, we can just review what happened there and any ongoing issues. That makes sense for the June 17th? Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
And then
yeah.
Then I was going to say September 15 and December 15. Those are all Thursdays.
What is it? September?
15th.
Sorry, sorry, June 24th is a Friday.
June 23rd then, sorry.
Okay, June 23rd. Yep.
So you got June 23rd and September 15th.
Right. And December 15th. Any comments on that? Karuna?
Yeah, so far that works for me, Ross.
Inspector?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Could I just ask Christy could you send me a reminder or an email, probably beginning of June, just for the last quarter's reports, and that way I'll endeavor to make sure that I send it to you this time.
I will.
Okay, so can I make a movement that we adopt the future meeting dates for the Montague Police Service Boards to June 23rd, September 15th, and December 15th. Location, Montague.
Township Hall.
Yeah,
And all at 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
yeah.
Good.
So just a question, please.
Go.
Like, I guess I'm just wondering if we really need to continue right all year going to the Rosedale Hall. Like, when you think about it, you know, there's only six of us maximum usually in the meeting. Like, is there a problem with the chamber? Because it is a little extra work opening.
Actually, I think that's what we meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just meant the
Yeah.
hall, or the office.
That's right, the township office.
The
Council.
township.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I thought
Sorry.
you talking Rosedale, huh? Okay, sorry.
Okay, and
Just a seconder.
who wants to second that, and who's all in favor? Everyone. All right, the final one that I have in here is a discussion around the Ottawa trucker incidents and how that affects police service boards such as ourselves in the counties. And I was wondering if Karuna could just start us off here with his thoughts on those happenings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as everyone is aware, the convoy arrived in Ottawa just near the beginning of February. Ottawa police requested OPP assistance in the days and weeks thereafter. Initially, we were deployed as a regional, providing regional support. As the event progressed, the OPP, we upgraded to a provincial response. So we had members from across the province deployed to Ottawa to assist Ottawa police and other services within the NCR to support their efforts. What I can assure you is that policing was not affected in Lanark County. We were actively engaged. Lanark County was actively engaged in supplying members, as every other detachment in the province were, to Ottawa. But having said that, we still maintain our commitments to policing Lanark County, and there was no shortage of members, so we were adequately staffed. I can't get into a whole lot more other than that. We, like I said, we provided support, but we provided adequate policing responses within the county.
Thank you, Karuna. And that one comment I want to make is that the Ottawa Police Services Board has different responsibilities than we do. They have the added responsibility of oversight of the Ottawa police force, whereas we review locally, but we do not have any power over the Ontario Provincial Police, and I believe that's correct. Is that true, Inspector?
Bill shaking. Yeah, I think you're on mute, Bill.
Sorry, it's a little weird, Ross. We actually do have the same governance responsibility with respect to policing in our township. And Ottawa, like us, has no right to direct the police in operational tactics. It is up to us to ensure that they are appropriately resourced, and we pay for it through our council. And council can't arbitrarily cut the budgets without the PSB's recommendation. So the governance is simpler, but instead of Ottawa having several separate ward PSBs, they've got one municipal one. So from a statutory regulatory point of view, the relationship is pretty much the same.
Okay. Do you have any comments on that, Bill?
Well, I was going to actually ask the question, like this, it's sort of a separate question I was thinking about, that Cronin, like you mentioned that you were able to maintain the service in Lanark County, but and I guess the question is, if you had to give up members to Ottawa, then first of all, how did that affect, like who remunerates us for that? And sorry about that, I didn't turn off my phone. Who remunerates us for that? But I guess the question is, how did you maintain it? Did you maintain it by overtime or what?
There was a mixture of both. We ensured that our adequate staffing levels were consistent as they are throughout the course of the year, because of our members working various shifts, and what we would term the 5-4 rotation. Members were off for 5 days at a time. Those members that were off were deployed when on their rest days. We obviously utilized some of our administrative personnel as well. Some of our members that were on strictly administrative, they were deployed to Ottawa as well. So all in all, it was just a managing. If you saw my office over the past couple of weeks, you would have seen the whiteboards and the sheets, who's going where and who's getting deployed and who's working where. So was I wouldn't say it was difficult, but certainly not. Again, we didn't run into any issues with staffing.
Bill, William?
Just a quick question. Were there any direct impacts on your operations in Lanark County, your primary responsibility related to the convoys, or did they just pass through?
They pretty much passed through on the roadways coming through Highway 7. In answer to Bill's question, there was a smaller protest that occurred on this past Saturday. That started off, actually, they drove through Carlson Place along Highway 15 down to Smith Falls and then across to Perth along Highway 7 to Carlson Place, Almont, and then ended up heading towards On Pryor. So we did staff again. I was on ground on Saturday along with my staff sergeant. We also called in a couple of members on to support us in ensuring that everything was peaceful, and as an update, everything proceeded as normal. It was peaceful, and they progressed through Lanark County and exited Lanark County, and there were no issues.
Wonderful. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. My last question on this is, and this is really to the two bills, is our police service board meetings, or are they open to the public?
Yeah,
In fact, they must be by law.
Okay. And
it's live
It
streamed.
has never live.
It's live streamed today.
Yep.
okay. And therefore, should we not publish our future dates in the township calendar?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just didn't understand that.
Yeah, I'm gonna add them like right now. When we're done the meeting, they'll all be in there, future dates. They won't have any agendas or anything, but the future dates will be there.
All right.
And our
Thank you.
minutes are also public, are they not, Christy?
Yeah, it's just when you go in camera, it's when it would not be public.
And I guess for our June meeting, we'll make arrangements for that in-camera meeting for a
Yes.
person, an HR purpose.
Yep, absolutely.
Good, thank you.
Okay, that concludes my list. Do I need any final resolution, Christy?
Yeah, you just just say that the following report, I guess it would be the following verbal report be received for information, the Ottawa trucker incident and our PSB consideration. So we need a mover and a seconder.
I move.
Chair can't move.
And unanimous. We get along well.
You know, Ross, you're going to have a problem if Bill and I disagree, because then you're going to have to break us up and break the tie. So
I look forward to that opportunity. Hopefully not in person. On Zoom, it's easy.
Actually, it's a testament, Ross, to your preparation for the meeting that the issues were well known and discussed beforehand.
Thank you.
And we were well informed, and we got the information. So, yeah, good meeting.
It's amazing that this makes sense to somebody. All right. Any other business?
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Corinne, for your attendance.
Thank you very much. Have a good
What
day.
time is it for the
Thank you,
adjournment?
everyone.
Wait, what
Bye.
time is it?
Andrew.
15:13.